All right. We are back. Let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. The crazy part about it is I think I talked about this a week or so ago about Mr. Fangio. Man, I was wrong. I did not expect that game to go that way. I I conveniently forgot about how good Philly's defense was. And I conveniently forgot about the issues with Kansas City and put too much emphasis on that Patty Mahomes could overcome that. I think there was a stat today I saw where Philly didn't blitz one time. If you can get that amount of pressure on an NFL quarterback without blitzing, it's extremely difficult. There's no stress on your secondary. Because if you blitz, if you're only rushing four, you have seven in coverage. If you go 3D, you can still have four underneath. If you go quarters, you have three underneath. And quarters is great because it's really more than three underneath because there's a pattern read off of number two. It just goes back to the most important part of football is the line of scrimmage. I don't say overvalue, we hype up the skill positions and and we need to score points and we need to do that. But if your offensive line can give your quarterback time and your quarterback can extend plays when needed, when your defensive line can dominate the opponent, you're gonna win. Not like Saquon had a great game. That offensive line, defensive line they were studs. That's why they won that game. It's unfortunate to me that the football has become such a quarterback centric league and has forgotten about the most important part of football that it's like you automatically give it to the quarterback or the winning team. When, in all honesty, that defensive line unit should have they should have split it four ways or how many guys played on defensive line, or maybe give it to the defensive line coach because they dominated that game. Period. It was it hurts me because I am a big fan of Fangio and I just neglected that because I was on the Spags bandwagon. Overlooked and obvious, but I still wouldn't have picked it differently, but I would have gave more credence to that Philly defense. I had no idea that Philly defensive line was going to dominate Kansas City line that soundly. Patrick Mahomes had no chance. It is it is great to see Jalen Hurts get a ring because it takes me back to this. Football is the greatest team sport in all of sports. Easily. Because your requirement to trust and believe in other people is front and center. You're gonna tell me Dan Marino isn't a great quarterback because he didn't win a Super Bowl? You're gonna tell me Jim Kelly isn't a great quarterback? They didn't win a Super Bowl. Are you gonna tell me John Elway's career wasn't great until he got Terrell Davis and they got 2 Super Bowls at the end of his career? Same thing with Peyton Manning. Like, are you telling me Eli Manning is a better quarterback than Dan Marino or Jim Kelly or Boomer Esiason? Like we can go to that level. I mean, we know Trenton Dilfer won a championship off of defense. So to put that much credence on a quarterback, and I'm gonna get to I'm gonna get to this too because talking about it now, it gets me to the point of Tom Brady. Tom Brady has what 6 rings? Tom Brady relied on that unit the first 2. I know. Tom Brady, as someone, I'm gonna get to it. Tom Brady, I gotta find it. Tom Brady was 3-2 after his 5 Super Bowl appearances, losing to Eli Manning twice. So I just saw these stats about Tom Brady and Patty Mahomes. Tom Brady only threw 10 picks and 10 Super Bowls, and Patrick Mahomes threw whatever. The thing about it is that you gotta also look at attempts. You gotta look at um, game plan. Was the team centered around passing the ball? And like all that stuff, I love how people just put stats up with no context. So I saw this from RG3. RG3 said Patrick Mahomes now has to win at least 7 rings to be considered the greatest of all time. I don't quite believe that because this is why. So the top is Tom Brady. The bottom is Patrick Mahomes. Y'all, which team relied on their quarterback more? If you look at yards total, the greatest season by Tom Brady in his first 7 years as a starter was 4,100. The lowest total for Patrick Mahomes in his 7 years was 4,031. Highest touchdown was 28 by Tom Brady. So, Patrick Mahomes had more touchdown throws in one season, right? One season in his first season. It took Tom Brady's 7th season. Look at the touchdown totals. We even look at interception totals, right? But the attempts is the difference. Attempts. Look at the attempts. Offense rested on Patrick Mahomes just a little bit more. Completion percentage. So for me, for people to say the 5 years to 10 years, I mean the 5 Super Bowls or 10 Super Bowls, it's kind of crazy when you look at their season, look at their Super Bowl stats, look at how much relying on Mahomes that Kansas City is and were than Tom Brady was. Tom Brady is a great quarterback. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, Tom Brady is still not my GOAT. My GOAT is Joe Montana. So take that with a grain of salt. But to just nitpick certain stats, especially if the guy goes 10 years, 10 Super Bowls, or 5. Let's if Patrick gets to 10, now let's compare apples to apples. Not the Tom Brady became the great Tom Brady late in his career. What is Patrick Mahomes should improve, right? You would think if he gets to 5 more Super Bowls, then let's compare. Maybe no, I think Brady. Yo, I can look it up. I didn't break it down in Super Bowl game log. But let's see see what Tom Brady's stat line was in Super Bowl, the Super Bowl stats. Should have had this, should have done this. So let me take it there. So this is Tom Brady's Super Bowl. First five, he's 4, 6, 7, 9. 9 to 2 interceptions, right? Now I think I'm pretty accurate there. All right. Let's see what Patty Mahomes. Just Patrick Mahomes. That's all right. So Patrick Mahomes Super Bowls. Well, Patrick Mahomes is 7-5. It didn't count this year, which whew, that was bad. So before this year, Brady had 8-2, right? Mahomes at 8-5, 7-5. That's about equivalent. And in my book, that's about equivalent. So how do you have to get to 7? If Patrick Mahomes goes the next 5 and throws more interceptions and throws more touchdowns and only throws one pick, they're about equal. Big Cap, South Presses, all we care about is UK football. Well, Big Cap, I apologize, brother. I just saw a team that was hungry playing a team that was too comfortable being there. Peanut butter, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Kansas City handled the pressure. I don't think they handled the hype and expectation as well. Patrick Mahomes he was not himself from the first snap. But that game came down to the offensive line, offensive defensive line. I said that early in that game because I'm like, man, this is rough. When you can, as a defensive coordinator, this is why Tony Dungy was so good in Tampa when he had Warren Sapp and he was a defensive end from Illinois. Can't think of his name. He had such good players in the front. Warren Sapp 3-tech had to be double. If he wasn't, he was getting pressure on the quarterback. They could rush forward and play the Tampa 2. If your front is that good and that stout, where you can handle the run and handle the pass and get pressure in the pass, as a defensive coordinator, it is extremely easy to call calls. Because I don't have to, in essence, guess. When you blitzing, you're guessing. Thank you, Brian. Right, Simeon Rice. Jeez, I could not think of his name. When you are blitzing, you're guessing, and you're hoping, and you praying that you can get to the quarterback. Because if you don't, big play is going to happen. If I call a blitz and they pick it up, or somebody goes in the wrong gap, or whatever it is, especially against a mobile quarterback, you are extremely screwed if you don't get there. Either the quarterback is going to run for 20 yards, or you're going to get a cross route or over route or something where the especially in the NFL where the receivers run away from the defensive back. And if he throws a good ball and he catches it, it's a big play. You get a running back or a linebacker, it has potential being a big play. When you blitz, you better get there. If you don't, you're gonna have problems. I look. When was that? Doesn't matter. Year 20, might have been 2021 or was it 20? Whatever. When we played Mississippi State with Coach Leach there, and he got the quarterback from Stanford. They went into Tiger Stadium and ran LSU out Tiger Stadium, where Bo Pelini would not adjust from running man, and Coach Leach messed the hell out of them. They come to us and we get like 6 picks because we didn't have to blitz. We didn't have to play man because we can get pressure with 4. If you get pressure with 4, y'all, it makes a DC look like he is invincible. Invincible. And it wasn't even bringing 4 and being exotic with it, like zone pressure, where maybe you bring 5, but you overload a side and you make it harder on defensive line. I mean, offensive line, because you're a simulated blitz, and then guys drop out. But when you drop out, sometimes you got a guy underneath coverage who's not used to being underneath coverage. That can cause some issues. The quarterback can read it and get it out. It wasn't even that. It was a 4-man front. 1, 3, what was it? Kind of whatever. 7, 5, wide 9, whatever it was sometimes. It was simple. When you can kick somebody's ass doing that, it's very easy. Like that Cooper pick, I have a pick very similar to that. Quarterback rolling out, you lose sight of the guy who's in the, I'm not sure it's a flood route, but who's in that mid area of the route, but he's on the sideline. He's outside of your vision as a quarterback. When you start scrambling, you're not looking out in, you're looking in to out. Looking in to out, you scramble, you see the guy open, you miss the guy over here, and he's coming, you throw it, easy pick. I mean, I think that's my pick 6-1 too against Georgia, kind of similar. Bruh, crazy. I think the real divide is errors. Patriots pre 2010 was a defense led team that rules change made. That's Brady did not win those first. I know the first 2. I don't want to say the third, but I'm definitely going to say the first 2. He didn't do anything to hurt him, but the game wasn't on his shoulders. Now, those last 3, he had way more input, way more of a fingerprint on those than he had on the others. That Atlanta game was crazy. I mean, that Tampa game wasn't as much as him, but it is what it is. But this quarterback, you judging people off of just Super Bowl rings is such misleading because I'm telling you, I'm biased because I'm not a fan of a team anymore. I'm more a fan of players. When I was younger, Joe Montana and the 49ers were my favorite team. Not even close. And Joe's fingerprint on those Super Bowls were greater than Tom Brady's. Joe Montana to me is the best quarterback for me. But you can go back to Fran Tarkenton, but Dan Marino I know Aaron Rodgers gets the label as being the most the best thrower, most pure passer. Dan Marino to me is the most talented quarterback I have seen, in my opinion. I mean, people also forget about Randall Cunningham. I may because I'm older, but Dan Marino could sling it, and and as a youngster, whatever that 83, 84, when the 49ers beat them, I was so happy because everybody became Miami Dolphins fans around me because of Duper and Clayton. But when Joe and Taylor and Rice went up there and beat them, Roger Craig, it was 84, Brian. That's what I thought. When they beat them, I was so happy. I could brag because everybody I knew was on the Dolphins bandwagon. But now, as an adult, it sucks that Dan Marino didn't win one because people hold that against him. I believe Dan Marino is one of the top, definitely top five, but people won't put him in that ranking because he didn't win a Super Bowl. And Eli Manning, like I said earlier, is not better than Dan Marino. It's not even close. And Dan Marino smoked a pack before a game. How about the cast commercial? Nobody. I don't watch commercials. Honestly, if you have, I don't know how long you've been uh watch me nobody, but I don't even have the I don't even listen to the announcers during the game. So when they went to commercial, I had a YouTube podcast on, and I just listened to that. I'm not into all that stuff. So um it's crazy, man. So this who said talk about UK football? Big Cap. So I'm gonna say this one real quick, Big Cap. We're gonna tie this up with a pretty bow. That game last night was won in the trenches. Our last two seasons, two seasons were lost in the trenches. I think we have a chance this year. We're having a better product. I'm not. I suck at um, win totals the last 2 years. So I'm a little. I have a little PTSD. But the product will be better with the guys we picked up in the port. And it seems like I don't want to say I'm gonna just use this word. It's not what I really mean, but this is the best word that come to mind. We are recommitting to also looks like emphasizing recruiting high school offensive linemen. If we get back to that, we get this O line corrected. The sky's the limit. Wonder what it costs. They got to think is recruit. I mean, they've done it. I know the last few years, nobody. It's I don't know what the ROI is on those commercials. I don't know, but it doesn't hurt. I'm sure of that. We get these trenches right, it makes both units better. Our defensive line last year turned out to not be the strength that it should have been, but that O line was definitely not able to help that transition. I don't put it totally on the O line. I don't. I've said it many times. The quarterback position hurt that team more than not. But that O line didn't help him either. So with these new 6 guys that we got coming in, I think we have a chance to be solid on the O line. We be solid on the O line. We have enough potential threats on the perimeter in the running back room that we could have a good product and potentially win some games that no one probably expected us, like the Ole Miss game last year. I will feel better after I see the first quarter of the season. Then I can say, okay, this is what I'm expecting for this team the rest of the year. But right now, just don't know. But I will say this: we improved in the trenches. I'm having problems talking today. We improved in the trenches tremendously on both sides of the ball. My concern is the secondary, but when you have a great front four with two good linebackers, it makes the corners and the safety jobs a whole lot easier. And like I said, I think we got better in those two spots. So it's a wait and see for me to be as excited as I've been in the past about a record. I'm not sure. I wouldn't bet on 6, but let's see how these guys gel together in this offseason, especially on the line. If they do that, one thing you guys should know is Stoops wins a couple games he shouldn't and loses a couple games that he shouldn't. So we get to that point. Now we're back in a pretty good spot as far as the record. I think the chapter has been turned, and I hope it's a good chapter because I think we have rectified some of the blinders that we had on in the past. As talked about Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Locker, and as we talked about Sunday on Sunday Morning Sports Talk with Anthony White, is the Coach Lawson deal with loyalty. I think that her press conference could have easily been AI'd over and voiced over with Mark Stoops, and that would have been relevant to him in these last 2 years of football. His loyalty to players, and I get it, because you gotta have loyalty is important, but sometimes that loyalty to the wrong individual, wrong group of players can bite you in the ass. And it eventually bit him in the ass, and we paid for it last year. All right, y'all. That's all I got.